Kirk Cousins being a herb when he says it would be refreshing to play in an empty stadium?
Feel like he's herb-tastic even without this. I can't believe I'm getting two Kirk Cousins stories today that I'm reading about, because he also said during an interview that he needs to run more next season. I sort of was introspective about where my life has arrived, that I was actually thinking, does he need to run anymore? Can he run anymore? But the idea of no fans at these games is interesting for a lot of different reasons. Last time I saw Kirk Cousins, he wasn't bothered too much by New Orleans, and then it was San Francisco's defense that ended up bothering him. But the idea that he doesn't need crowd noise to do his job, I think most quarterbacks would tell you it doesn't much matter whether or not they have crowd noise. They'd like to work in silence. It wouldn't bother them that much.
Yeah, and it especially wouldn't bother Kirk Cousins, who would love if people would stop booing him, his own fans at home, when he performs poorly. There was a game, I think it was last season against Green Bay, where Vikings fans booed him at home because he was bad. It obviously happened a lot in Washington. Of course he would love for there to be no fans. It makes perfect sense. He compared it to practice. The game isn't supposed to feel like practice, but he was like, yeah, I'm used to doing it. It would actually be kind of nice. That completely tracks for me. None of that is surprising.
Yeah, no, check on cash regardless. And I do find this interesting, though, that we all operate on the presumption that our energy as fans is what really lights all this stuff up, right? Like, we operate as though, yes, we are there. We provide this energy. Every player feeds off the energy. Certainly lots of players feed off the energy. Some of them, maybe, just maybe, wish we weren't there, right? Some of them, maybe, just maybe, enjoy doing this without all this noise. I hadn't really given that much consideration. This is not why Kirk Cousins is a herb. I would say that. Katie also got my answer here, which is, hey, man, I mean, you like the fans more, the more the fans like you. And with Kirk Cousins, that's a very here and there sort of situation. Like, he's one of these cats, and not everybody lives in this space, but he will be treated by the fans week to week based on how he played the week before, right? There is nothing so good that he can do that we'll forget about the bad game next week. There's nothing so bad that he'll do that people will forget about that time he did something good that one time, and they keep throwing it in my face as they have since 2015.
It's just a really good point that Bomani makes about us thinking that we matter to a sport and a broadcast. You could argue that the only sport that needs fans in order for it to be good and make any sense is the sport that we're getting without fans anyway in the WWE. Like, fans actually make a difference in understanding the role of the wrestler in a match. And that's the one that's like, we'll do it without fans. So if they can do it without fans, any sport can. It really won't make that much of a difference.
So apparently y'all been out here on the tweets talking about the possibility of Odell Beckham being traded to the Vikings. And this is all I want to say about that as it happens. If you good at something, people expect you to carry whoever's there with you. When they think you a little mediocre, they ask everybody else to carry you. Kirk Cousins gets paid like a carrier while being the carryee. That is victory right there.
I would also add to this that in my experience, the Chipper Joneses of the world, the Reggie Millers of the world, they enjoyed more silencing a road crowd than getting the roars from the home crowd. Kirk Cousins was able to do that when he was in New Orleans, because that was a loud New Orleans, and he made a great throw at the end to finish that game. San Francisco, season ended a little differently.
You talking about that throw where Kyle Rudolph pushed off at the end?
No, I'm talking about the throw 40 yards down the field before that. Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, you know, I'm all good with it. I don't care who do it to the Saints.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.